John Muir. John Muir. Focus question. What impact did John Muir have on nature in the United States? A passion for nature. Long ago, when settlers began colonizing what is now the western United States, many spoke about conquering nature. While indigenous people in the area had managed and protected the land for thousands of years, the settlers wanted to clear the land and use it for their own needs. John Muir was one of the few settlers who wanted to protect nature. He wanted to set land aside for national parks. Muir was a gifted writer and speaker. He used these skills to inspire others to care about conservation. Early life. John Muir was born on April 21, 1838 in Scotland. John was the oldest son in the family with 8 children. When John was 11, the family moved to Wisconsin in the United States, so his father could start a farm. John's father was very strict and forced his children to work long hours doing farm labor. He allowed them only one small meal a day. The children's health suffered as a result. John did not attend school during those years, but he loved to learn. He woke up early to have time to read. John rose at 1 a.m. each morning. He studied many different subjects on his own. If he had any free time during the day, he explored the woods and fields around the family farm. During John's teen years, he spent part of his early morning time working on inventions. One of his inventions, a special alarm clock, pushed him out of bed at a set time. Freedom and connecting to nature. As a young adult, Muir was restless to follow his passions. When he was 22, he showed his inventions at a state fair in Madison. Inventions, especially Muir's alarm clock, were a huge hit. A judge awarded him a cash prize that gave him some independence for the first time. Instead of going home, he stayed in Madison. He started college that fall. Muir studied mainly math and science, including the science of plants. In 1863, he left Madison to attend what he called the University of the Wilderness. Muir traveled on foot around parts of Canada and the Midwest. He took odd jobs to pay his way. In 1866, Muir took a job as a mechanic. The next year, a work accident briefly blinded him. Though he feared he would lose his sight for good, he returned a month later. Muir suddenly realized he wasn't doing what he loved most. He left his job to spend the rest of his life in nature. Muir took off on September 1st, 1867, hiking about 1,000 miles to Florida. He reached the coast to just over 7 weeks. The next March, he went to San Francisco, where he arrived. He asked someone to show him the closest way out of town. When the man asked where he wanted to go, Muir replied, "To any place what is wild." The High Sierra. Traveling on foot, Muir headed for California's Sierra Nevada. The beauty of the area amazed him. Muir's first trip was short, but he went back the following year. He worked briefly as a shepherd, and later he ran a sawmill near Yosemite Falls. Muir spent his free time exploring the land. He drew inspiration from the writings of Ralph Waldo Emerson, who often wrote about connecting with nature. In early 1870s, Muir suggested that the movement of glaciers had shaped Yosemite Valley. Muir's fascination with glaciers led him deep into the mountains to look for evidence. In October of 1871, he published an article about glaciers. His idea was later proved. People were beginning to pay attention to Muir. Other people who studied and loved nature traveled to his cabin in Yosemite to meet him, including Emerson in 1871. Do you know? The area settlers called Yosemite already had a name. Ahwahnee Valley, which means gaping, mouth-like place, is the homeland of a number of indigenous tribes, including the Ahwahnechee, Miwok, and Paiute people, a band of militia who violently removed many indigenous people gave the area the name Yomesite. Nature writer and activist. In 1873, Muir moved to Oakland, California to write magazine articles about nature. He wanted readers to care about nature the way he did. In April 1880, Muir married Aloysia Wanda Sorrento. He moved to her family's fruit ranch. However, Muir was unhappy with ranch work. With Louis' support, he started traveling again. Louis Wanda Strentzel. Louis Wanda Strentzel was the only child of Polish immigrants. He received a formal education and achieved a perfect score in every subject she studied. She was musically gifted and could have been a concert pianist, but preferred a quiet life on the family farm. Louis was supportive of her husband's passion for nature areas, but did not share it. They had two daughters, Wanda and Helen. After traveling to Yosemite in 1889, Muir published two articles about the area's beauty. Other people worked with Muir by asking the government to protect Yosemite. The next year, Yosemite became the third U.S. national park. In 1892, Muir helped found the Sierra Club to help preserve the Sierra Nevada, and he became its first president. The Sierra Club is now a leading conservation organization. In 1803, President Theodore Roosevelt asked to meet with Muir. The president wanted to better understand the needs of natural areas in the West. Honored, Muir took him on a camping trip into Yosemite. During the trip, Muir asked the president to set aside natural lands as parks. As a result of that trip, more areas of Yosemite became part of the national park. Roosevelt also set aside many other natural spaces for preservation. In his later years, Muir spent more time writing about his travels. He also led a 12-year fight to protect the valley in Yosemite from being flooded by a dam. Despite efforts to stop the project, including a letter Muir wrote to government members, it was approved in 1913. The fight raised awareness about the protection of natural lands. It also helped lead to the creation of the National Park Service in 1916. The National Park Service set up stronger management for all U.S. national parks. John Muir died on December 24, 1914. Although he did not live to see the creation of the National Park Service, his efforts helped make it a reality. Do you know? The word wilderness implies that a natural space is uncared for and uninhabited. Yet many of the spaces that Muir refers to as wilderness has been inhabited and protected by indigenous peoples for a long time. Muir didn't always understand the ways indigenous people cared for the land. For example, indigenous peoples have been using controlled burns or planted fires to keep land healthy for thousands of years. Muir thought the only way to protect the land was to prevent all fires, but scientists today know that controlled burns keep the land healthy. The Syria Club today. John Muir cared deeply about protecting natural spaces. His support led to the creation of national parks, which continue to preserve the beautiful lands for future generations. Today, the Sarah Club focuses on a wide range of environment issues throughout the United States. The group also works with indigenous peoples to protect the land and animals, making sure the places we love to visit stay safe and healthy for years to come.